This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
Say, what up, Des Moines? This is Dr. Negus Imhotep, coming again with some more of Babylon Makes the Rules. I want to give a shout out to Amplified DSM, Infinite Resources, for sponsoring the show. And I want to give a thumbs up to Brother Abraham and Sister Courtney for the work that they do here at Infinite Resources. So you hear that reggae beat? I speak my mind. I fear no evil. I take my time. I help my people. I stand my ground. I will not crumble. I keep my crown here in this jungle. That's what this is about. I come to tell you the truth. Some might like it, some don't. Who gives a damn? It's an African proverb that says that a truth teller has no friends. I'm coming to understand the meaning of that proverb. Today, I want to talk to you today about the particular political and social climate that we live in today here in America. And I know the media shows a lot of different things that's going on. And in all actuality, it seems like we're in World War III. We have two political parties in this nation because we live in a bicameral legislature, and as I was established, a two-party system. We got Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We got one man, Donald Trump, who even made the comment that if he loses, there's going to be a bloodbath. And the political, social, political, economic climate here in this country, I'm speaking as an academician, an academian, is consistent with how the economic and political system was 100 years ago in America. I have a book that I brought here today called 100 Years of Lynching by Ralph Ginsburg. And this book was written a while back, but this is what it says. It says recent racial violence against blacks is on the rise. From distant parts of the United States, reports of racial violence fill the newspaper. That blacks are killed in the streets of New York while being beaten and harassed in the hills of Georgia. Some come as no surprise. America has a long but seldom discussed the history of violence against its black citizens. The typical American response has been to ignore this history. Unfortunately, this further obscures a historical problem which can only be resolved through defensive vigilance and an awareness of the slope and magnitude of the problem. Through Ralph Ginsburg's book, 100 Years of Lynching, we gain insight and understanding of the magnitude of the racial violence. The hidden past is illustrated to kindle the defense vigilance of this generation. This is an old book. It was written in 1962, but yet it chronicles lynchings in the United States. I'm going to the text and open up this one in particular. Uh, it's not in Iowa, but a close neighboring city to us, Omaha, Nebraska. In 1915, under the Woodrow Wilson administration, uh, there was a movie director named D.W. Griffith who created a motion picture movie called The Birth of a Nation, The Klansman. And after the production of this movie, Wilson had his cabinet members to come to the White House to come and see the production of this movie. And they brought members of Congress or his cabinet to come in and watch this movie. And they brought their wives. And in this movie, it depicted black men as savage, sex-crazed individuals who were docile and ignorant, and all they wanted to do was rape white women. This movie was played, and Wilson, being a former history professor at Princeton University, came to the conclusion after the movie and said it was a clear depiction of the nature of the black man in America. And the Ku Klux Klan rose all across this country. 1919 was a date that was special. 1919 was known as the Red Summer. World War I was over. Black soldiers had come back from World War I fighting over in France because the military was segregated, and the United States didn't want black soldiers fighting with white soldiers from the United States. But these individuals came back home to the U.S. And on this date, September the 29th, 1919, Mayor Edward P. Smith, who tried vainly last night, this is a newspaper article from the Omaha Daily Bee, September 29th, 1919. Omaha, September 29. Mayor Edward P. Smith, who tried vainly last night to prevent a mob from lynching a Negro prisoner, died shortly after midnight from injuries inflicted by the mob because they wanted to lynch him too. The lynching of Willie Brown in Omaha on that night was the first that occurred in the city since Saturday, October 10th of 1891, when Joe Cole, alias George Smith, was hanged to a wire support by the Hardney street trolley wire from the front of Boyd Theater on 17th and Hartley Street, just one block from the scene of the hanging of Brown Sunday night. Willie Brown was a 40-year-old black man, or 41-year-old black man, I'm inclined to believe, from my research, who was affected by arthritis extremely to the point where he had to walk with canes. But a white woman in Omaha states that she was raped by a black man, and at the time when that type of sound came on and the climate of what was going on at that time, they just said, I was almost saying like any nigga will do. Just get us one. And that's what they did. Lynching in America was so prevalent to where the rail systems here in the United States would give discount tickets for people to come and see the lynching of black men and women. I mean, in a whole carnival festival type of atmosphere. You can see some of those dark pictures from the past, and you see people surrounded by bodies that are dangling from trees, or bodies that are laying in wood and being burnt, while people pose and smile. And they make postcards out of them. They cut the genitalia off of men for souvenirs. They would cut their ears off for souvenirs to show somebody that they was present at a lynching. From this book, I saw that from 1900 to 1931, the records of lynching in the U.S. by county in the United States shows that there was a number from that 31-year period of 1,886 people who were recorded lynched in the United States. I was not excluded. It wasn't only happening in the South. It happened in the East, in the West, and the North. As a matter of fact, there's records that show in Albia, Iowa, and Ottumwa, Iowa, in 1893, there was lynchings of black men right then. Missouri Valley, Iowa, and Iowa Falls in 1894, and Mitchellville, Iowa in 1896. They only speak of the lynchings, but they don't even say nothing of the names of the victims. Didn't even record it, didn't care. And I saw, while I was doing the research, I dug up something and I saw an article said the last lynching in the state of Iowa occurred in 1907 in Charles City, Iowa. Happened to be a white man. Yet that wasn't the last lynching in Iowa, because we can go to 2020. Oh, 2020. Say his name. That's not George Floyd. His name is Michael Williams. Michael Williams was a 44-year-old black man that lived in Grinnell, Iowa. And during the month of September the 16th, the day after my birthday, they found this man's body. A black man in Grinnell, Iowa, who was attacked by several white people who were claimed to be his friends. So law enforcement investigated their own doings and claimed that this crime was not a hate crime, because they said it wasn't a hate crime because they knew him and they were friends. They knew him. How can you be my friend, beat me to death, wrap me up in a blanket, then roll me up in the carpet and throw me in the ditch and burn me and say that wasn't a hate crime? During the month of December of last year, I sat right here in a conference with law enforcement officials at the River Bend Center, where the Department of Health and Human Services here in Des Moines. And they had law enforcement officials talking about hate crimes. Had a member of Homeland Security, a member of the FBI, and a member of the local Des Moines Police Department, who was a investigator, had the Attorney General's office for the state of Iowa was here at that event. And when I brought up the name of Michael Williams, they act like they didn't know who the hell I was talking about. We better watch out what's going on and think about what's happening around you. We see things happening in different portions of the world where famine, war, and all of these things going on. Sitting up here in America thinking that it can happen to you. I'm telling you, you better wake up and smell the coffee. My wife and I were sitting in a restaurant just a year ago. Nice restaurant. It happened to be a Russian restaurant. And I listened to the conversation behind our booth we were in. There was another group of individuals who happened to be Caucasian, and one sounded like he had a Russian accent. And the conversation got on about politics. And the Caucasian from Iowa, from this region, made the comment, we conservatives, we got a lot of money and we got guns and we got a whole bunch of guns. He said the problem with the Democrats is they don't know which restroom to go in. We have people with minds, with ideas like this who might even be manufacturing some legislation for you to live in here in this country, to live in this state. 100 Years of Lynching in America was written by Ralph Ginsberg, and it was dated from 1860 to 1960. I'm going to let Ralph Ginsberg know he might be dead and gone, but the lynching has not stopped in America. And just like my brother, Gil Scott Heron said, and now it's winter, winter in America. Nobody's fighting, and nobody knows what to say. It's winter. We talking about March. It's snowing in Iowa. It's supposed to be spring. You better watch the weather. This is Dr. Negus Hotep shouting out. Y'all be easy out there, but be safe. Don't be ignorant. Boom!